1-0 to the Arsenal. 1-0 to the Arsenal. Sorry,
It's
listeners.
one verse, mate.
One verse. That's the most you're going to get from me. I'm sorry. Sorry, listeners. I had to do that because I said if I predicted the right result, which I did, 1-0, then I would sing some bars from the famous song. And there we go. So sorry I had to put you through that, but I wasn't going to do more than two goes at it. So anyway, so welcome to episode 37 of the Grove podcast. And I have the pleasure and displeasure, and I'll explain why, for taking the seat today to talk about what a win. Against them lot from down the road, those wannabes. They can't even beat our reserves. Yeah, joking aside, and you got to love it. An old-fashioned 1-0 to the Arsenal. No Rice, no Odegaard, no problem. So we're here today to celebrate this Arsenal team, the performance they just put in, and at the same time, let's laugh at Tottenham because that's what we're here to do. And they thought they had an easy time. They were going to have an easy time with it. They in the media thought, "Oh, Arsenal missing these players," and all the rest. And thought we were going to have an easy, fun day out. And boy, didn't we put our big boy pants on and show them that we're not to be messed with. So as I said, unfortunately, Moz, whilst playing football today, got a concussion, so he's at home recuperating. Unfortunately, the bright lights and my singing were going to be too much for him today, so unfortunately he can't be here with us. So get well soon, Moz. But I do have, and I'm very pleased to have today because I love speaking to him and I love hearing his thoughts. So we have Jamie. Jamie, how the hell are you?
Hello, folks. I'm feeling rather fine and dandy. It's been a good old day, hasn't it? It wasn't entirely unexpected, but I've not been that apprehensive about the derby. I don't think in a few visits, just due to the absences. So delighted to get it out of the way.
Very good, very good. To be honest, I'm absolutely knackered. Some of you may know that I'm training for Chicago Marathon in a month's time. I was out the door at 4:45 this morning. I had to do 36 kilometers. So what's that? 22 miles, 3 hours, partially in the dark, in the cold. So I was up that early. Then I had to go and run the line for my son's football team. Who unfortunately lost, but he said he would take the hit to ensure Arsenal would win. So they lost, and I'm pretty sure one of the opposition's goals was offside, but I was too knackered and I couldn't keep up with play, and I had to give it, but I didn't tell them that. I shouted at our left back, said it was your fault, you kept them on side. But that victory today has woken me up, so I'm pleased. But give me a nudge if you can hear me snoring halfway through this. So look. Part one, we're going to talk about that beautiful victory against the Spuds, and then part two, we'll look forward to that opening game of the Champions League, which is against Atalanta away, coming up this Thursday. So we'll do a bit of a preview of that. So, as we always do on these things, first off, Jamie, what was your highlight, and if you can find a low light from the game, let's have you.
I mean, naturally, it was Gabriel's header, but to probably put something else in there, because I always like to pick something that the other folks aren't going to go for, obviously. Ethan Nanieri's little cameo as well, when he came on looking so composed. I said when he came on, that is going to be 10 minutes of a North London derby with only a goal in it. Is a big 10 minutes to have as a cameo for a young kid. And he just looked so composed, and his touches were so neat. And he got involved in creating a couple of breakaways that didn't quite come off. I think everybody else was knackered around him, but he looked he looked really bright. So as an alternative highlight for me that's not the most obvious, definitely that. Really enjoy seeing him.
Yeah, very good. And low light?
Low light, I think, has to be. I mean, the opening 15 minutes isn't far off as a collection of lowlights, to be completely frank. It was quite nervous. It was quite tetchy. But I think the very worst being Ben White's deflected pass that ended up in the path of, was it Son or was it Brennan Johnson? I can't remember which one came onto it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, thank God that Tottenham couldn't finish the dinner all day, because they didn't really have much outside of that first 15 minutes, as far as I remember. And to be fair, I think in each of those cases, you know, we kind of recovered quite well as a defence in quite a few times, but we were a bit sloppy. And that did always worry me a little bit about the fact we had, you know, Georgie who can hang around on the ball a little bit, Partey who can be a little bit loose occasionally. But actually, weirdly, of all people, it was Ben White that seemed to get caught out then.
Very good. Okay. No, on the Ranieri one, yeah, you know, it was nice seeing him on, and he didn't look out of place. And just the timing of the timing of the runs and the timing of his pass, there were chances there to break away. But that will come, and I'm not going to fault it. You're right. Game state, people are a bit tired, a bit frantic. There was a nice touch actually when he came on, where Jesus went actually to the right hand side to say, look, don't worry about it for now. I'll go here. You stay central, and we'll figure things out. And I thought that was a nice moment during that. That moment, and we'll touch on the sloppy stuff in a bit because I sort of noticed a bit of that as well. So look, for me, the highlight actually, and I sort of posted a thread about this before the game, and it was sort of like, today was a day to stand up and be counted. You know, big teams with big ambitions don't cry or crow about injuries. They just get on with it. You know, and yes, other teams may, but whatever. If you want to be a big team and you want to be seen as a big team, just got to get on it, put a team out there, and then do your job and just find a way to win and show who you are, irrespective. Now, I think if we'd played the way we did today and lost, I don't know. I think we still would have come out with some credit and all the rest of it, because football's stupid, as I always say. But I think, and we did that. So my highlight is the fact that we did that. We showed up, as I said, we put our big boy pants on. We showed we're a big team. We're not going to let these, you know, if you had asked Arteta before the international break, who's your midfield going to be, or before the Brighton game, it would have been Marino, Rice, and Odegaard.
Yeah,
and we found a way to play. And we did it, so that was really, really pleasing for me, and that was my highlight. Just that whole way the team showed up. It wasn't perfect, but it was good. And in terms of low light, it's the last 20 minutes. I was almost going to say, come on here and say, right, can someone tell me what happened in the last 20 minutes, because I could not watch it. it's always that. It's always that. The nerves, and I, as I said to you beforehand, I said when we went 1-0 up, I was more nervous when we were 1-0 up than we were at 0-0. And it's weird because you've got something to lose and you go, hang on, and you just say, oh my God, we're so I know it's sort of like just that whole 20 minutes. But I kept the pacing to a minimum. The dishwasher only got a couple of things taken out of it, and only one visit to the gents. Got me through it. So, and in the end, as I said, I think if you were to watch that final 25 minutes, you know, without the emotion, it was like comfortable, easy. I think we said, like, Tottenham had one completed cross out of 13, 5 shots from outside the box, 1 from inside the box in that last 25 minutes, but they didn't offer any threat really. I think the luckiest thing was that, thank God, Gabriel got to the ball 1 second before Solanke. That was a brilliant challenge.
yeah, absolutely.
But I was thinking, oh, here you go. Here's your bog standard North London derby penalty for Tottenham. But he did brilliantly. So
that was a fantastic challenge, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, he was brilliant all day, but it was just absolutely phenomenal. And I kind of had the opposite, to be honest. I felt fairly comfortable in that last half hour. It is always a little bit, you know, it's not the most. It's not 3-0 up at home to Bournemouth, let's put it that way. But it's still, nonetheless, for me, like, I was just looking at them and just kind of thinking, the way that our defence is playing, the trust that I have in those defenders, which is through the roof. And David Raya should not be noted either.
He's part of the defence, isn't he? Yeah, he's it.
Yeah, had a huge part to say in the first 15 minutes for sure. The trust that I've got in them, to be honest, allied to Spurs looking quite poor at trying to break down a team. Certainly I think as well, we're not talking Spurs on the break here. We're talking Spurs actually having to break down a team.
Yeah.
And bringing on Timo Werner to be a part of that, which felt kind of hilarious. I felt pretty comfortable at that point. I kind of felt, is this job done? Just write it out now. You should be all right, chaps. This is okay. We're good at
Yeah,
this. We're really
no,
good at, and we're really good at holding on to leads. When we've got 10 men.
yeah.
And that
Well,
was my main thing at the time, was just thinking, just let's make sure we stay really disciplined. And that was the thing. It was such a disciplined
mm,
performance in general,
mm,
that I didn't really worry about that. I'm more worried about getting the goal in the first place all game.
yeah,
And when it just generally, when the emotions of the occasion were overcoming that discipline, but we completely and utterly reined that in. It was almost like they had a huge emotional surge
mm,
after scoring the goal, and then went, right, lovely, we've got a job to do now. Let's be adults. Let's calm down,
mm.
and let's just do what we do. And they were phenomenal at it all the way through.
Yeah, no, agree. And on the defense, was that 9 clean sheets in the last 11 away games, which is phenomenal. Yeah, we have, do you know when the last time we've been losing away from home?
Oh God, I can't think now.
Fulham on New Year's Eve. That's the
How
last.
long was it?
Fulham New Year's Eve was the last time we've been losing away from home. I believe so. Yeah, my son told me that. So my son told me that. So if he's wrong, it's his fault. But yeah, but it sounds about right. If you think about all our away games, we haven't lost away. As I said, 9 clean sheets in 11 away games. It's actually phenomenal. So yeah, that trust in that defense, that they get it done, and now Raya is a massive part of that, and you feel so secure with him there. Yeah, now Timber's adding a bit more security. Gabriel, big G. He may not be the most elegant player, or the most best on his feet compared to like someone like Saliba, but boy does he give a shit, and you show it, and he gets stuck in, and then Ben White is Ben White. So yeah, big kudos to that defense. Anyway, and it was defense won that game, in defense and in attack. With the Gabriel header and all the rest of it, it was just superb. But even then with defense, having Partey and Jorginho in front, they had a great shield. They worked their socks off, and so that was superb to see. And you're right, yeah, I should have more confidence in them. I just know football is stupid and shit happens, and it can bounce left, right, and centre and go off. I was going to say go off Solanke's ass, but he's yet to score against Arsenal in the 6 games he's played against us. So 60 million, yeah, I'm not so sure.
Well, I mean, this is the strikers' market right now, right? I mean, actually, funny enough, the way that you it hasn't really occurred to me until I think just this moment where we've kind of chatted about it. But one of the things that it actually puts me in mind of, thinking of that team and that performance today as well, is a little bit of the touch of the early Wenger about it. And in a big part of that being, I quite like when you look at that back four now and the size of them. And obviously Timber adds a lot to that. Timber is quite a
unit.
muscular boy. Let's put it that way. Calafiori, when he gets a chance, is a very, very muscular boy. Havertz is the biggest striker we've had probably since Giroud, right? In fact, I think he's a bit taller than him, in fairness. And looks more physically imposing than when he first turned up. When he first turned up here and when he played at Chelsea, he seemed like a bit of a skinny, lanky guy. And he probably hasn't changed physically in any way, shape or form, but the way he uses his body now, with the mentality that he's got, we feel like a real sort of team of fighters and street fighters now across that pitch. And that feels very reminiscent of that kind of early period, and the period that, you always used to hear on the Tuesday Club, them referring back to Tony, I don't know who was said originally, Martin Keown or Tony Adams, you need however many in the lineup, 8 in the tunnel or something like that.
Yeah.
We felt a bit like that, and that game felt a bit like that to me, was that we felt like we were physically imposing, mentally imposing, and got out of that game what we wanted to, in a way that I just don't think Arsenal sides have done necessarily for a long time. And we've been building towards that, but it feels like we're right at the apex of that now. And it allows you to not necessarily always dominate a game with, fantastic attacking play. Sometimes you just outfight people.
Well, I mean, Tottenham look lightweight. I mean, Romero's a faux hard man, type stuff. You got to respect Van de Ven with his pace, and I think he's actually good. But all the others, we were man for man. We were bigger, better team, and stuff like that. So we made them look very lightweight as well. So look, going on to the lineup. So all the talk during the week was what formation we was going to play, and then there was 5 at the back or 4, and who the midfield triumvirate would be. Would it be a double pivot with one of it? Whatever. There was that, and we had 6.5 senior players out. There's 7, yeah. You know, Odegaard, Rice, Calafiori, Zinchenko was suddenly a surprise. Like, but then again, I'm not so worried about that one. Tomiyasu, Marino, and Tierney. Okay, and I said senior players, not first teamers, but they're all, he's a Scottish international. So we had 7, and then we had 5 teenagers on the bench, and I'm sure one of them was the mascot. Someone was Maldini, Kakuri, and Ismail Kabia. I know. Are these made up? Are they real players? But I mean, if Maldini is anything like his namesake, then boy, that's we got someone on.
Feels like his parents are really trying to manifest destiny there, aren't they?
Let's hope so. So, but yeah. So look, but even then, if you looked at it, I still think our team was stronger. Our team was better, even on the bench with our options with Jesus and Sterling, and who else was on the bench? I can't remember, but anyway, I think there was like 3 or 4 of us was still, and I looked at their bench. Now I'd much rather have us. So what did you think about then? So eventually we've settled with a double pivot with Jorginho and Partey protecting back 4, Trossard and Havertz. Now I was trying to think. It felt like actually Havertz was still more 9 and Trossard was more 8, but they interplayed, and then Nelly and Saka out wide. I was happy with that because I thought Nelly could exploit their high line and all the rest of it. So what did you think the team was going to be, and what did you think of the team that we put out?
I'd hoped for this team, and I was really delighted to see it because I felt for a start. I know a lot of people talked about putting Havertz back in midfield. I don't want to see him there. I want to see him at 9. I think at the moment he's playing like a really high quality number 9, and I've seen a lot of Arsenal number 9s in games like these be isolated at times, and he dealt with that isolation really well today. He drops into the right spaces. He lets players overlap at the right times, holds the ball up so well. And as I say, he looks physically imposing now. So him being at 9 was a real, for me at least anyway, was like a minimum. You don't want to, what you want to look at is what's the problem area in the pitch and who do we have to fill in there. And for me, Trossard has played 10 plenty of times at Brighton. I know he's largely played more on the wing for us because during the time he's been here, he's always had Martin Odegaard about, and at various other times also Smith Rowe. But ultimately, he's played plenty of 10. He's very, very good in that position. And also I think the intelligence that you've got with Havertz and Trossard, we saw it throughout the game. They're able to interchange. Their link-up was great. What I thought was really interesting, actually, was what happened as a result of that selection, where our right-hand bias disappeared and we all of a sudden had a left-hand bias, because instead of having a roving right-hand bias number 8 in Odegaard, we instead had that from Trossard, and suddenly we started doing most of our work down the left instead. So Timber was galloping a lot more than we've necessarily seen him, and doing his best impression of a Ben White. And yeah, it was great to see. And Martinelli, I thought, had his best game in quite some time as well. But this is a perfect game for Martinelli as well. He had quite a few of those long balls to be able to really stretch his legs, try and get the other side of the defender. And as I say, he probably benefited quite a lot from the fact that Trossard, Havertz, and Timber were all supporting him, and he wasn't necessarily being caught in the positions that sometimes you can be as a left winger at the Arsenal, where you're always just coming on to the end of things. He actually had, a lot more of an opportunity to take players on all day. And it was just great as well to see Trossard and Martinelli in a position where, Pedro Porro's not going to look forward to a day like that again, I don't think, because every time they did get the ball, either one of them are just going to run at you, right? And, it doesn't always come off, but both of them are going to run at you time after time after time. So having the two of them in the same place, I thought was really nice and worked really well for a game where it's away from home. It's the North London derby. If we don't score early, we're not going to control the game completely, and we want that breakaway. So the team set up really, really nicely. And whilst it was what I wanted to see, I did have some reservations over Jorginho and Partey. I like, both of them had really key parts to play last season at certain times, but it does worry me a little when the two of them are together. I kind of see both of them as very much, I want to see them alongside Declan Rice.
Yeah.
But in fairness to them, both of them put in a shift. And there weren't any, major hair-raising moments with them. So I think the selection was brilliant, in fairness.
No, it did work. And, we were sort of playing, going forward, it was like a 4-2-4, 4-3-3, as I said, and Havertz would be the focal point, or Trossard would push up next to him, et cetera, et cetera. And in defending, it was very much 4-4-2, the two banks of four, and then again, Trossard would drop in a bit. But it was a team, it was very much a team performance. And yeah, my concern was, where are we going to get 90 minutes from many of these players? Can we get 90 from Jorginho? Can we get 90 from Partey? Can we get 90 from Timber? There's always a bit of doubt about them. And I was super surprised actually that Jorginho played the whole game, but he played a very controlled performance, and he was definitely the Odegaard replacement in terms of being the manager on the pitch and directing traffic, and so experienced, so good. He used his experience in terms of positioning. I think Tottenham targeted him. I think they found him as an easy option to push off the ball if he dallied too long, and because him protecting the ball, if you've got 2 or 3 players going at him, is quite hard, and he lost the ball, I think, a couple of times. And I think also the same with Trossard. So I think Tottenham were clever in terms of targeting our smaller players, shall we say. Which led to thinking I was a bit sloppy and a bit, there was elements where it felt a bit, we gave the ball away or we're holding on to it too long, trying to find something. But I think that's natural given it was not our regular team that you would expect. So therefore players maybe not in position, or people are receiving in position that they're not used to. So you can sort of forgive that. It's a case of, right, okay, the mistake happens. How do we deal with the mistake? And we dealt with it every time. So I think that was, that was good. And yeah, the likes of, Jorginho ran himself into the ground. Timber ran himself into the ground. They all gave him, put that in. So again, I think there were sloppy elements. I think even Ben White was a bit sloppy in parts. I mean, the Spurs press was good, and it was hard to get around that, because and the other thing I noticed, that again, this is like more of a we haven't rewatched the game yet. I didn't see much inverting going on from it was very 4-4-2. You didn't have Timber inverting, and again, I think that helped Martinelli, because then you've got the line up the left instead of coming from a different angle, or and so on. So I think we set up perfectly for this game, for the way this game is going to be played out. Tottenham will have the possession now. I think they've averaged 70% possession in their first 3 games. Okay, granted, one was Leicester, one was Everton, and so on. So they were always going to dominate possession. But all we had to do, I think, was quieten the crowd, quieten the team, just push them back. I think you said the first 15 minutes were very in our half, in the final third of our half, and it was a bit a bit scary. But over time we pushed them back, and then they have sterile possession, and they couldn't get through. But I thought, such an intense game, how could we last? But we did, and I said that thing happened happened at the beginning of both halves. We took the sting out of the game, and then we grew into it, and then you could see the breaks were happening. Suddenly there was spaces behind, and so on. And we'll get onto the moments, a bit later, key moments, but there was space behind. We could attack. I think it was games to grow into, and I think it was a mature performance. I think isn't that what Arteta said in the post match interview? It was like it was a mature performance, and really pleased to see that we found another way to win. We don't always have to. We won ugly, shall we say? We don't. We win beautifully, and it's lovely when that happens. But sometimes I think teams take a pride when they win this way. There's a certain togetherness when, right, this really forms a team. I feel, and there's a certain togetherness that you can get from this. When you win a bit ugly, when you're not expected to, when the odds are against you, bang, and we just need to repeat this. So there we go, and that's our 3rd away win at the Toilet Bowl in a row. So that's always nice to nice to see. So in terms of statistics, again, it wasn't a game of many chances. Was it 0.74 xG for Spurs, 0.73 for us, so fairly even. I mean, they had 15 shots, 5 on target. We had 7, 4 on target, but they had no big chances. Again, that showed you how good our defense was. Where we had 2 big chances,
Yeah.
and we missed one of them. I mean, yeah, they had 64% possession, but and then 7 to 6 corners, and I think corners were our main threat. I think we knew either a breakaway goal or set pieces. We're gonna be. So it was that sort of game. I think for the neutral, it wouldn't have been that interesting for us and Spurs fans. It's just tense and one of the best, but I don't think it was a great, shall we say, spectacle. So what happened in the first half? I put here, stuff happened, but nothing major.
A lot of cards is what happened mainly.
Well, that 7. I think that's 7 yellows in the first half, which is the most ever in the Premier.
I mean, that's normally what sends the betting companies off to have a look at whether anybody's received their brown envelopes when you get 7 yellow cards in the first half. That's pretty mad.
Did you think there was actually any yellow cards that sort of weren't unwarranted? There was. I didn't see any that were. No, that's never a yellow.
I think the only one that I felt was probably, the one that I thought was probably the harshest was actually Kulishevsky's, I think.
Okay.
Which he seemed to get for a very, very light nudging off the ball of, I think it was whoever recovered the ball from Saka when Saka did get absolutely scythed down.
Yeah.
So that one felt a little soft, but even then it wasn't massively. Still understand why. It was still stopping a breakaway. But yeah, in general, they were all those kind of fouls where, individual isolated moments you would. It was a bit odd to see them all given in a North London derby in the first half.
There were niggly fouls rather than anything, apart from the Van der Ven, which was the one that was, and we'll get on to the Timber one as well. But yeah,
the Timber one was confusing actually, and I'm quite keen to have a look at some analysis of it because I watched the game in the Horatia and we didn't have the commentary. They were having loads of trouble with the commentary throughout. So didn't really get much of a commentary of what was there. And I was kind of struggling to see exactly what the booking was for, to be completely frank. I think going over the top of the ball on the challenge, that felt a bit odd to me because it felt like he was trying to trap the ball.
Yeah.
Anyway, I might be skipping ahead here, but I thought that was really odd.
No. Let's touch on it. I mean, to me, I thought Jared Gillett must have seen the Bournemouth-Chelsea game last night and said, hold my beer. You think that's a larger number on the cards? Yeah, but no. Okay, so we take it 35th minute. Timber down the left-hand side. I think he goes in, and there seems to be space. He goes in to try and control the ball. So he tries to get his, I think, left foot on the other side of the ball, so to protect it. So he's got it in between his legs, but he catches the top of the ball and it rolls over, and then Porro actually comes in and hits Timber's leg, and it's just a fraction later, but it's, for me, I'm hoping this isn't rose-tinted bias glasses, but to me it feels like Porro then comes in with his kick and kicks the underneath of Timber's foot. So it wasn't one of those where Timber went over the ball, missed the ball, studs up into the shin. He'd actually got his foot on the ball and was going to the other side of it to then keep possession of it, and then Porro comes in. So I'm thinking, look, I can see why they gave a yellow, real time. It looks like your typical foot over the ball, studs, shin pad thing. But I think the timing actually Porro coming in is one of them. I think he kicked the underneath. Yeah. So I can excuse the yellow because real time it looks like that. But when you slow it down, but then when they were talking about and VAR concurred that it wasn't a red, but then Jamie twat Redknapp at halftime. I'm very lucky not to get a red, and but come on, that's lazy analysis again. It's like, come on, you play football. You know what he's trying to do as a footballer. He's not going over the top and going studs over to protect the ball. No, so I think your initial perception of it is right. Look, some will see it other ways. That's the way I saw that. So, not a red for me. So look, right in the 5th minute, Kulusevski had a shot saved by Raya on his right again, dangerous cross. I don't know who by, but from the right hand side, Raya again. So he's again keeping up his good form. And then we had the first sort of, I think the first yellow was the Saliba yellow for running away with the ball. Now, that was dumb. That was just dumb. After everything that's been talked about, that was dumb. And he's got not a leg to stand on. That's a yellow card. Blah blah blah. Okay, inconsistencies. We won't go there, but that's a yellow card. So that meant 75 minutes of Tottenham attacking, backs against the wall on a yellow, and bloody hell, he managed it superbly. And actually, Tottenham, he didn't put a foot wrong after that. There was not even a sniff of a yellow card after that.
Mm.
I was so impressed, and I was just a bit worried for the red. Not that it scuppers this game. He's got Haaland in his pocket, and then we go to City next week, and he's not there. Could you imagine?
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
okay. Then did you see the shout for a pen? The one in the 70th minute? Any thoughts?
Yeah, again, it wasn't for me, to be
No.
completely frank. But
No.
yeah, I mean, I didn't really think, to be fair, I don't think there was too much contentious in the areas at any given time, was there? There was one moment that looked it got the crowd in a bit of a frenzy, I think, because I think it was Kulishevsky ended up kind of falling over, and then he ended up piling into a second player as well after that point too. And there
Yeah.
was just nothing in it at all. Absolutely nothing in it. So yeah, there didn't seem to be too much contentious otherwise. All of the decisions were largely things that happened around either, out on the flank or in the centre of midfield largely, right? Which helped with the nerves, admittedly. I don't think I could have dealt with an actual being referred to VAR penalty appeal probably would have, finished me off at some point. That would have been a bit much.
Yeah, check badge. So here we go. And then we had the first big chance of the game. Well, I think clear chance. So Martinelli made a lovely run. Yeah. How do you think? What do you think he could have done better? Do you think he did the right thing? Yeah. What was your view on the Martinelli
I mean,
chance?
he had the opportunity to square it to Saka potentially. I think Saka. I mean, Saka. I don't know who it was keeping pace with him, but
Yeah.
I often think people that go on about squaring it in that situation, when you've got a man inside of you, and there was a man inside of Saka as well, even if he might have been a yard behind, it's always a little difficult to do. To be frank, if you're going to do it, you do it early. And so, taking it on and having a go. Martinelli has scored some cracking goals that way for us. And where he comes inside onto his right and pings it into a top corner, he's done that. Give it a go. Just ultimately, your execution has to be better than that. And at the moment, he's a player who's, hopefully that game will give him a little bit of confidence, because I did think he played well. I think it was the best game he's played for us for a little while. And yeah, I think he just needs to get a bit of confidence back ultimately.
Yeah.
It's about as simple as that, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the one thing he could have done better. I mean, the reason why I don't think he squared it, because he would have been on his left foot, so I don't think he trusted that. I think maybe when he received it, he should have cut across the defender earlier. So rather than running in a straight line, he should have cut. So then I always tell my son this: he's a forward, you cut across, because then the defender either takes you down or finds it very hard. So you run across that defender, and that would have been put him more central. I think his shot, it was just too easy for the keeper. It was too centre of the goal, too easy. It wasn't far wide enough. And I think Van de Ven was coming in. I think that's why he rushed his shot. And Van de Ven's coming in full pelt. And he's just not in that composed state at the moment. But it's fine. Again, as you said, I think he had a very good game. He was up and down defensively. He was an outlet. He challenged. So, it's just one of those things. And in the end, it didn't cost us. So, and in terms of, and then there was Solanke had a looping header, which had Raya backpedaling a bit, which and I thought, oh my God, there's going in. I was expecting it to bounce in off the inside net, but I think if you would see it from a different angle, it's going miles wide. So I think we were fine. So that was it. So again, stuff, but not a lot going on in the.
Most of the XG came out of headers as well, didn't it? Because probably I'm assuming our clear-cut chance that wasn't the Gabriel one was probably Havertz's header, right? Which was which I thought was in, to be honest. The Havertz header was he meets across really sweetly and puts it to Vicario's right, and Vicario gets a really strong right hand there. I think that might have been the one that bounced back off Vicario onto the hand of the Spurs player as well.
Oh, okay, right, yeah. First off, I can't remember.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was. I mean, as we said, absolutely no way is that a penalty. But yeah, I think that was probably for me what we kept seeing really, and then actually a lot of the game played out as just kind of, it was quite a lot of crossing going on.
But that again,
handball is very Wimbledon in certain senses,
and they're just terrible at crossing as well. And like Madison, you were talking about trying to unlock a unlock our defense is, yeah, he's not good enough. I'm so glad we didn't get him.
I'd say
Look at him on a
that
day
has
like
aged
that.
really well, hasn't it?
You look at him on a day like today, he creates nothing. Yeah, and his crossing's bad, his passing's bad. Yeah, he's just bad. That's fine. He can be a flat track bully. Let him. And then second half, like we're saying, lots of bad crossing. Bit like the first half, we soaked up the pressure and then pushed them back. And then the 64th minute, in comes Big Gabriel with a unstoppable bullet header from like 4 yards out, and it's 1-0 to the Arsenal. So it was a Saka corner. So again, and as we said, another assist. Good movement in the box by Gabriel, but nothing crazy. But he was a bit in and out. And then Romero's defending was poor. I mean, as a centre back of that experience, you don't turn your back on the defender. If me as an attacker in that situation can see the defender's number, I'm happy. He needs to. That's terrible sort of thing. And then he should have been side on, but wasn't. Gabriel, we'll touch on. Gabriel gave him a little bit of a nudge just to ease him out of the way, and then bang, 1-0. So a couple of things on that. Where was Vicario? That's your 6 yard box. That's 5 yards out, and he's heading. Why aren't you coming out to make a challenge? I don't care.
I mean, some pretty good movement around him, I will say, by Archer.
Yeah.
That was whenever Gabriel gets one of those bullets right in the middle, you have a little look at what's happening with the boys in front of him crowding that space. Yeah. But it was quite brilliantly done because nobody touched Vicario. Well, they all were doing, pulling Tottenham players in front of Vicario more than anything else. It's just we just absolutely packed it, and it is that thing where you can see those set pieces coming if you watch them closely, where we do just literally go bodies. When we just go bodies all in and around the goal area like that, that's when something is coming in nice and flat for either Gabby or Billy to be able to go and try and knock in. And it was just very, very well done.
Yeah, I mean, sort Arteta's contract. When's what's his name? When are we renewing? I forgot.
Genius young set piece coach. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah, when's he on his 10-year contract? Let's go on him. I mean, 3 of our last 4 goals versus Spurs have been from corners.
Yeah.
Gabriel, he's now on the second in Premiership for Arsenal. Second most goals by an Arsenal centre-back in the Premier League. I think he's on 15, Koscielny's on 22. But they were saying after the game, could have been a free kick, should have been a free kick. Surprised it wasn't a free kick because he gave him a little push. What do you think?
It's the smallest of nudges. To be completely frank, you're not going to get rid of that amount of pushing, right? And that's, I think, particularly in that situation, you're at the corner. He's popped out his arms. It's more of a feeler for me than a proper push. That, to be completely frank, there's no pullback on the arms. It's just he's just reached out. That's all.
Yeah.
Reached out, check where he's there. If Ramiro pulls back, those arms are there ready to kind of cushion him and tell him to bugger off. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't anywhere near enough. And I think had it been an outright shove, I'm fairly sure Ramiro's falling on the floor and giving it stacks. But he didn't seem to do a great deal of complaining whatsoever. Didn't really see Tottenham complain as a whole. So yeah, for me, I would be really surprised if that was disallowed. Don't get me wrong, there was still a little moment when they show that on the replay and you go in, just get on with things, get the kick off. Please don't let's see a VAR. I don't want to see that purple screen of death here, And fortunately, it never came, and off we went. But yeah, I mean, if you get rid of that kind of stuff, I think it's I think you're struggling a little bit at corners if you can't have that.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. It's more he's just steadying himself. I don't think it was. And look, bloody up, Joe Linton's isn't a free kick against Arsenal last year. Then that can never be. So 1-0, and then we got 25. Well, it turned out to be 31. Enduring beautiful minutes to soak up all the pressure.
Victory lap.
So, and then in terms of what happened after that, again, I was almost going to say not a lot, but notable bit. Jorginho got cramp at 75 minutes, and I was thinking, oh, good, okay, what we're going to do if he has to come off. And then Sterling and Jesus come on for Trossard and Nelly on 79, which were the right decisions. We needed a bit more just a bit more energy, pace, and so on. Then 85th minute. Now we don't know the full prognosis. Saka was shaking his head. Saka went down with a thigh injury, what looked like a thigh injury.
Yeah.
I could tell he wasn't going to carry on, but how bad is that for? I'm not so worried about Atalanta, but for Man City, we need to see. He seemed to be smiling and walking around after the game, so fingers crossed it was precautionary. And he said, and Waneri came on and looked the part, was great. 89th minute, Sterling shoot, running across the edge of the box, shoot. I mean,
With him and Gabriel now sharing a hairstyle, it seems they're also sharing somewhat of a playing style as well. It was difficult to determine which one of the two of them was in that position doing exactly as you might expect to see.
yeah.
That was frustrating, wasn't it?
Yeah, good. Yeah, but I think I read a great Billy Carpenter Substack about Sterling, and a lot of it is all positive. But yes, there will be frustrating moments. And then 5 minutes added on, Kulusevski had a decent enough shot, but over. In the 91st. Jesus in the 93rd minute, go to the corner, man. What are you doing? Not inside and lose the ball, because then Tottenham had a bit of a break afterwards, so he would have been like, "Geez, just go to the corner, man." Jeez, And then on the 5 minutes added on. Fair enough. Kai had to stop on the 96 minutes and 39 seconds. Finally, the whistle went, and relax. What a win! You've got to be so proud of these players. Who was your man of the match? Who would you put up there as your man of the match?
Gabriel, and it's really just the goal that gives him it ahead of the other three that could easily be man of the match, because Raya, Saliba, Timber were all there, but Gabriel for me is the one you've got to give it to.
Yeah, I had Timber and Saliba a close second, but Big G, he was brilliant. The goal makes all the difference. You got to love him. You got to think with Calafiori coming in, there's all. I think with Gabriel, all stemmed from last year. Is there an element of doubt? Is there something that Calafiori brings that he doesn't do? I wouldn't want to see him out of this team. The partnership with Saliba, the way they dovetail, the way it's fire and ice, as some would say, or whatever. But those two at the back are just so solid, and what a great player to have in the team. And he seems to be enjoying life in the Brazil team. He seems to be now starting for them. So he's love him like all the players.
Undroppable at the moment. I mean, him and Saliba seem to have a great relationship as well.
Yeah.
The way that they work together, and I would imagine with Raya too, who seems to communicate very easily with them all. I've always thought with the Calafiori thing, I wonder if it's more of a case of just building up all those fullbacks and potentially even more that Ben White might need to watch the fact that Julian Timber, is nominally more of a right-sided player, but. Nice competition across them all, but you can't see any way that Gabriel and Saliba aren't first choice. I mean, I think they're the best centre-half partnership in the world for me. I do not think there is a better centre-half partnership in world football than the two of them.
I think Maguire and Evans may be a close second, but I think so. No, good. So, no, absolutely. So, again, I think we're all smiling here. We're all happy. 1-0 against, Tottenham. That didn't really offer much, and look, they must have been thinking, licking their lips, all their fans, we're there for the taking. Sorry, boys, London is red. So there we go. So now we're clear second behind City after yesterday's results. I think first 4 games of the season with what we had, with what's happened, I think 10 points. I would take that. Maybe the results wouldn't have worked out. Maybe you expect to draw at Tottenham or expect to draw at Villa. I think it doesn't always work out the way you expect. But I think I would take 10 points plus 6. I think it's plus 6 goal difference. So nicely played, and we move on to the next couple of games. They come think of us, Atalanta and City, and then so finally predictions. Jamie, right? You predicted the win 2-1. That's good. Moz, bit pessimistic, was the 1-1, and then I will pat myself on the back quite literally now, and with 1-0 to the Arsenal. So which is odd. Watching it, it was very much a 1-0 game. First goal was always the difference today, and it was been hard. So, but it's not a very Arsenal Tottenham result. Normally, there's a lot more going on than just that 1-0. But then there we go. So there we go. So that's part one done with, and I'm sure we'll enjoy match of the day tonight, which reading the socials and reliving that until Atalanta comes up on Thursday. So Jamie, Atalanta, what are you looking forward to? What are you not looking forward to with regards to Atalanta away?
I'm really hoping that we might have a little bit of an interesting choice or two in the team. And particularly as we mentioned earlier on, Wanyeri, I kind of wondered if this might be his warm up for getting a full start out there. That could be quite fun. To be honest, I know very little about Atalanta themselves. A little bit of their reputation, fairly attractive for an Italian team, but ultimately not a huge amount to anticipate. So, and if I'm honest, probably not the most enthusiasm for the Champions League group stage this year. This whole league system with the 8 games against completely random teams that you're only playing once a time feels odd. And perhaps I'll get really excited by it as we go through it. But at the moment, it feels a little bit like I don't really understand why we've got an extra couple of games cluttering up the fixtures, to be completely frank. So in a weird way, I'm actually looking a little bit at the Atalanta game, a bit like an international friendly, and wondering, is there a way we can just... do you want to just stick all the U's in for one or two of these games? Surely we don't need to win them all. I don't know. It's a bit of an odd one. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing if we do spring some surprises. I think that'd be great. But otherwise, I'm a little bit worried in general about the Champions League, those extra games, and especially now the fact that we've got a squad that's dealing with multiple injuries already. There's actually probably a little bit of apprehension about the Champions League campaign in general. But everyone else has to go through that as well. City have got to go through that as well, and Liverpool have got to go through that as well. And the better teams need to manage these fixtures as well. Unless you're Chelsea and you've got 80 players, and you also put your best player not even in your Europa Conference League squad because you don't need to play him in those games. If you actually did the work of getting in the Champions League the season before, then you need to manage these issues. So yeah, it's a bit of an odd one. I don't know enough about them, and I've not been enthused enough to really delve into it. I think because my eyes are probably more drawn to the bigger Champions League games that we've got coming up, especially the PSG one.
Yeah, no, we'll touch on Atalanta a bit. It's a bit odd, that thing. You don't know how to sort of gauge it, because how many points? So there's 8 games, and you've got 2 in the new year. What you don't want is then that playoff, and if you don't finish in the top 8, then you're in a 2-legged playoff. So all of a sudden, that's a home and away playoff that you've got to suddenly add in.
More games.
Yeah, more games just to get into the last 16. So if you finish,
some of the end. I mean, I love football. I just
it's money, to stave off the Super League and all the rest of it. So you want to finish top 8. So every point is important, but no one knows. Is it? Moz was saying, based on his playing on FIFA or whatever game he was playing, like six wins should do it. So that's what's that, 18 points, but that sounds quite a lot. So and it's Atalanta away. It's 3 points there for the grab. You don't want to lose the opportunity to get 3 points. Again, you got to think of next year and the additional game. So it's going to be a tough one. But so who knows on that. And in terms of the player, well, we'll touch on the lineup now. In terms of, for me, what I'm looking forward to, well, I will be fortunate enough to actually be going to the game. So I've managed to bag myself a ticket. So myself and my son and Alan from the Grove, we're sort of flying into Milan, driving to Bergamo where Atalanta play, watching the game, driving back to Milan, catch a plane, go home the following morning, sort of thing. So it's a whistle stop tour. But yeah, so very excited about life going away to that. It's a small stadium, 21,000. There's going to be like 1,300 Arsenal fans, so it's going to be it's a small, traditional, old school stadium from what I can tell. So that should be good. What I'm not looking forward to is I just hope we have a safety. I'm not suggesting anything, but I'm sure I hope the Carabinieri don't get overexcited whilst we're out there and whatnot. But no, I'm not going to cast any aspersions on my fellow Italians. No, in terms of what I'm not looking forward to, not a lot really. Just just want to see us get the 3 points. I think take it seriously, and just again, let's hope we don't do anything stupid for the City game. That's it. I don't want anything to happen that scuppers the City game. So in terms so in terms of the lineup, who given today, so Jorginho's done 24 hours, 90 minutes. Timber's done 90 minutes. Calafiori wasn't even deemed fit enough to get on the bench. Jesus loves the Champions League. Saka is his injury. Where do you think we should go? If you were going to pick the lineup, where do you think we would go with this?
I think for this one, I mean, this is probably where given Saka's had that little bit of a knock, maybe you have Jesus come in there or you have Sterling come in there. Either one of the two is going to do the job. Jorginho, I think, can't do another 90. That's where I say I wouldn't be surprised if maybe when Yeri gets a chance there. I know it's a big game in a tough opposition, but you've got to give him a go at some point, right? You've got to have him actively, compete for a place and try and contribute. Or maybe it's MLS, but I think Wanyeri is the one that's further forward in his experience. So if someone's going to be in there, it's probably him. But then that leaves you with Wanyeri and Trossard, and I can't see that being a thing. So it's difficult to toss up perhaps what we're going to do in this one. Maybe you've got a little bit more chance on the other hand of a Wanyeri and a Havertz, and Havertz does move back into more of that 8 role. Just to give a little bit more physicality in midfield. But yeah, I'm finding it a little bit of a struggle. It feels like our options are quite slim at the moment, obviously. And we need, but I really do think we need to see Jorginho get a rest ahead of City. And to be honest, you'd kind of prefer for Thomas Partey probably not to play.
No, that's another one, yeah. Can he do 390s in a week?
Yeah, I mean, I would sort of be hoping instead that, because I think this is where we've got to. It's not just about the fact that we have so little depth at the moment, or we're struggling for choices, but specifically the 2 midfielders that we have are 2 guys that do not play 90 minutes on a regular basis.
Remember, Rice is back. So I think we've forgotten that. Yeah, Rice is back.
I have completely forgotten that. So yeah, I mean, definitely in the team, isn't he? So let's face it, it's probably that Rice, Partey. And I'd like to see Wanyeri. I don't think he necessarily will, because we just don't. He's also got the Bolton game coming up, where I have no doubt Wanyeri will play 90 minutes.
Got to play.
And probably MLS will as well.
Yeah.
But I'd love to see him do it. I'd love to see him give him an opportunity, especially if Saka's not going to play. If it's one of those very rare occasions where we've got no Saka, then perhaps you shuffle things around and you do that. But yeah, that's a great point. I'd forgotten about the fact that Rice.
Yeah, because I think we think injured rather than suspended, so that's it. It's over. An interesting one. So I think the Zinchenko and Calafiori. This is injuries. This is where they come into play. Because there was one thing I was thinking today. If Calafiori is fit, he would start, and then maybe you'd push. Because the way we've been playing, Timber has been practically playing alongside Partey anyway. When he's inverting, he's practically playing as a double pivot in front of a back 3. So you think, well, it's not too much of a stretch of imagination to have 2 left backs. So you have Calafiori there, and you have Timber alongside, and so on. So I think if Calafiori's fit, maybe then you can push Timber in. I don't think Timber can play without Jorginho or without Partey. Don't know. So we don't know how bad Calafiori is. Maybe, it's just that's a bit of a worrying one. That he was not fit enough. I think if Partey plays, I think Partey and Jorginho will share minutes. They'll have to do that. They'll share a bit. And don't forget, Champions League, Italy, the pace will be slower. It's not going to be harem scarum. Okay, Atalanta will be up for it. So this is this is Atalanta's first game in the Champions League, I think, since 20, what did I put it, 2021-22 season. The first time since they've been back then they won 1, drew 3, lost 2. I don't know who again. So it'll be a big occasion for them. So a bit like for us last year, first time back in a few years. It'll be a big occasion, so it'll be very emotional. The crowd will be up for it, as it'll be a small, intense crowd atmosphere. So you need to manage that. So manage that to a certain extent, which I think we will. But it's just that emotional factor. I think we'll be calmer. I think what cost us a bit last year, and I think this is what cost us the game against Tottenham where we drew 2-2, was that our first Champions League game in X amount of years was the week before the Tottenham game. It was the Wednesday before the Tottenham game. And there was so much emotional energy invested into that one Champions League game. It was just so important to everyone that I think we just were mentally fatigued from that occasion, and we ended up drawing 2-2 with Tottenham in a game we should have won. So I think that'll be more on the Atalanta side than us. I think we've got the players to deal with it. I said Timber and Partey, Jorginho and Partey will share minutes. I'd like to see Saka sit out and have Sterling start. He's got Champions League experience. He can start out there. See Jesus up front, and Nelly as well. Indifferent. I don't know how they line up. So all the rest of it, but yeah, and then Zinchenko's an option as well at left back if we want to give Timber a bit of a rest as well. I don't know how his fitness is. So we'll see. Again, it's going to be another interesting one. We're going to go through a period now, and I think this is going to be the whole season. I mean, I think I said at the beginning of the season, we shouldn't be focusing on first 11s. It's starters, finishers. It's sharing minutes. It's giving everyone, hundreds and hundreds of minutes. Not here's your first 11, whatever. We've got a trusted 18 now, and it's utilizing that the best as possible. It's still early enough in the season that players are not tired. I mean, they've only played 5 games. Even with the internationals, it's still early in the season.
Yeah.
And actually, these games help them get fitter. So, but as I said, Jorginho, that's his first 90. That's the first minutes he's played since March. I think that it is something like that. So that he's gonna be, I feel stiff having done what I did this morning, but hey, boy, he's going to be in a whole world of pain tomorrow morning. Sure, but there we go. So look, in terms of Atalanta, so they're currently 8th in Serie A. So Napoli first, Juventus, Torino, Inter, Udinese, Verona, Empoli, Atalanta. So they've played 4 games. They beat Lecce away 4-0, but Lecce are not much cop. Lost away to Torino, lost away to Internazionale away, and then they beat Fiorentina today 3-2. So they scored 8, conceded 8, so they can score. They're letting goals. Was it Matteo I should be able to pronounce this. Retegui. He seems to be one of their main men. We all know about Lookman, but he scored an assist one. But they I think last year was a superb year. I don't know if they've lost players, and I should have looked at transfer marks. So a lot of these teams a bit like Calafiori's team, I've forgotten what they were called, but they lost a few players and lost their manager, so maybe a couple of players being pinched. But also we all know about Scamacca from his days at Inter, and he's out with this. I didn't know, so he had a crucial ACL injury, so he's out till next year. And another one of the players is out till next year. So yeah, you're right. It's hard to tell. We're not going to do deep analysis on them and all the rest of it. So I think they're a team we can beat, a team we should beat. Let's not get beaten by the occasion. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting game. And I think they've actually. I mean, I again, little bits that I've kind of seen about them. I think there's actually been a summer where they've spent quite heavily. So we got to Ketelaere, the lad from AC Milan, plays for Belgium, and they've got Ben Godfrey as well from Everton.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Ben Godfrey pitched up with them, so it's an interesting one. But yeah, I think they spent quite heavily, brought in a large number of players. But yeah, it's it's an interesting matchup. As you say, they I think quite a lot of goals for and against every time that I see them. Gasparini's been around with them for years, hasn't he? And he was at Palermo before, and that was quite an entertaining team that he had there as well. But yeah, aside from that, I can't say that I've watched a great deal of them. You know, they kind of exist on the periphery for me as something that that you kind of see doing well, and you notice that Atalanta certainly seem to be having one of their best periods of sustained success in about 20 odd years. But so it's a curious one, and it's odd getting them in this game and then them being gone as well. Yeah, I find that very strange as well. The prospect of we'll play them and it's like a knockout and we're not going to play them again and bring them back to the end is super strange as well. And to kind of see them in the context of, normally you look at that Champions League group and you've got, right, they're the ones that we're really competing with, and these two down here are the two gimmies, right? And I'm not really sure where Atalanta would normally sit in those Champions League groups with us. So yeah, it's an interesting game. Really looking forward to it. I'm dead jealous you going over. That sounds fantastic.
That was a bit nuts. It was a very crazy 24 hours that was. And then me and Alan getting the tickets, booking the flights. It was like a military operation over WhatsApp. It was cool. Yeah, they've lost. Was it Coupe Miners? I think attacking midfielder. He went to Juventus. Zapata was a centre forward. So they've made. So they've lost a couple, but gained a couple. Let's see. So let's. But yeah, you're right. They spent about 60, 70, 80 million on a few, and then a few loans. Even a guy from Leverkusen. So, but yeah, let's just see. But yeah, no, I think we all expect we should win. As I said, let's not get beaten by the occasion, and I think we should be fine. And there we go, and that's that. So all that leaves me to say is 1-0 to the Arsenal. Up you Spurs. London is red. What a glorious afternoon. Thank you, Jamie, for joining me today. It's been great speaking to you. Love hearing your views, and I hope you have a fantastic evening and week. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Tubbs.
And get well soon, Oz. Hope your concussion isn't too bad. I'll be giving you a call soon just to make sure you're okay. And as Moz always says, follow us, like us, subscribe, leave comments, all that jazz. So I'm fairly active now on Threads at thegroveafc. Come and have a chat, and we will be back after the Atalanta game, I think on Thursday, with a review of that and a preview of 115 FC versus Arsenal next Sunday. So have a great night, listeners, and speak to you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.